don't need to be nervous. It's all good. It's all good. Hi, everyone. It's Whitney Wiley, and thank you for joining me for another episode of 30 Days of Habits. And I am so excited today to have with me Sheila Anderson. And she's going to be talking about being the CEO of your life and what that means. So, Sheila, thanks for joining me. How are you today?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to be here and share my thoughts on my habit and my unhabit.
Absolutely. Sheila's habit is in the book, One Habit for Success. It's the SmartFem Summit Special Edition. The information for purchasing your copy, if you don't have it, will be in the post. So, Sheila, you say that we need to own the experience that others have with us. You call it the Chief Experience Officer of you. So, tell us what you mean by that.
Yeah, so I always start out asking people, if I were to ask 5 of your closest friends what one word comes to mind when they think of you, what would they say? And if I were to ask some strangers that have just recently met you that very same question, what would you want them to say? And what are those words you never want used to describe you? And so I tell people that you are the chief experience officer of you. And being with you should be an experience. And being with you should leave people yearning for more of you, wanting them to have more of you. So it's owning that experience that others have with you, just like any other corporate brand has. You are your own brand, your personal brand, and you need to own that experience that people have with you.
That's, it's interesting that you say that because it's not something that I think, well, I'll speak for myself, that I really thought about. So I'm interested in knowing, how did you come to the realization that this is something that you and I and others need to do?
Yeah, well, it's we all have a reputation, so it's very similar to that, and it kind of becomes like what attracts people to other people, whether it's you're looking for to attract business clients, or if you're looking to attract a partner, or whatever that is, like what is it that makes us attracted to other people? And I come from a corporate background as well. I've done corporate branding, and I was like, what is it about people that, when I watch them move up the ladder, what is it about them? What's their charisma, or that, that magnet that makes them stand out and makes them invisible? I mean, there's very often times that you will be in a large networking event or a big conference, and somebody walks in the room and everybody notices that person. Like, what is it about that person that makes them stand out? So for me, it came from the experience that I've had previously on not feeling visible, like feeling quite invisible when I walked into the room. And being invisible wasn't always about people like looking at me, but it really came down to why I felt invisible was a lack of self-confidence. So we can talk about that in my unhabit as well. But so just being confident and owning that experience and what attracts people to other people just always piqued my curiosity. And what was it about people that made us more attracted to them, what their charisma was, and after you've been with in somebody's presence and talked to them and had interactions with them, and what experience did you have with that person that made you want to continue that relationship with them, or do business with them, or refer people to them? So I think of it in some ways as that afterglow.
Okay.
No,
that makes sense. And
afterglow,
when you explain it, and now that I've read about it in your chapter, it absolutely makes sense. And I think particularly when you use the word charisma, And I think of the energy that people bring when you use the example of someone walking into a room, right?
Yeah.
And the energy and the confidence that someone exudes when they walk into the room that makes people, they do have an experience. And it's not that necessarily they come to you just for you, but it's what you do and exude that impacts them, right? That makes them feel some kind of way about themselves, I think.
Right. That they felt listened to, they have felt valued, they felt that they mattered in that conversation with you, or, whenever they've interacted with you, that, we just all want to feel valued. We all want to be respected. We all, we all have such amazing gifts. And so many times, so often we compare ourselves to other people, and then that's where we get, that self-esteem goes down. And
right.
Especially in social media, I'm kind of getting into my one habit a little bit, but especially in social media, it's so easy for us to look at somebody's perfect social posts, and then look at them like, gosh, they have this perfect life. And then you start, I can't compare to that. And really,
and you can't, and neither can they, which is the good news.
Right? Yeah. Like, we don't see our own gifts. Very often I say it's hard for us to see that outside label when we're inside the jar. So that's why, at the beginning, when I started talking about, like, if I were to ask 5 of your closest friends, what words would they use to describe you? Sometimes we don't think about that. Like, what do people compliment me on most? What gifts do I have? Because everybody has their own gifts, right?
So I'm going to pose that question to you. You don't have to name all 5, but if if your friends, those who know and love you best, were to ask you that question, what are some of those words that they use to describe you?
Yeah. So my number one word is captivating. So they have captivating. They have warmth. Classy has been used quite often. Sophisticated.
I can see that.
Yeah. So those are usually like the top 4. Iconic has been another one. So,
and are those words that you have intentionally set out, or were there other words that that you try to impart and are still working on it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think what I've always had in me is that genuine warmth, that genuine kindness, and I have a lot of empathy for people. So I've heard that all my life, and so I've really embraced that. I am very empathetic, but it can get you in trouble because I really can put myself in other people's shoes, and I can cry with them, and I can laugh with them, and I can feel what they're feeling, and so that's always been with me. But the iconic or that captivating piece, and maybe the classy sophistication has taken some time. I think it was always there. When growing up, I would fill my walls with photos of what the perfect woman I thought should look like. You cut out of magazines, and I tape them up, and I had almost like wallpaper in my bedroom walls of things that inspired me.
And, I think iconic, and I'm looking at you, and I do get like a 50s era.
Yeah. Perfect. That's right.
Like a movie star from the 50s, like Marilyn Monroe, just this, this aura about you. So I do get that.
So I've done well, because that is me. I'm pretty sure I could have loved the 50s and 60s and rocked that 60s beehive, so that iconic piece, and I do love that old Hollywood. I love that old Hollywood even when I decorate my house in other areas. So that really has kind of come through my whole life.
Okay.
But just kind of understanding that and being intentional, I've been intentional with creating that look, that signature style. So, it takes a deep dive into figuring out what are my values, what are my gifts, what do I like, what style do I like
Right,
even.
right.
And if people have a tough time, with figuring out their style, I say, look around your house, because very often you will decorate your home in a certain style that you can even bring out with it shows who you are.
Yeah. And I love that you use the word intentional, but earlier you also used authentic, right? So
Mhm.
it is, you can
Mhm.
be intentional with what
Yeah.
you're doing and then still stay authentic to who you are
Yeah.
by doing what
Yeah.
you just said, which is to know your values
Right.
and incorporate that into that.
Right.
So I'd
And
like
being consistent with that,
and
right? That
absolutely,
same message all the time, right?
exactly,
Show
exactly.
up. Same.
Well,
Yeah.
and but that takes some intentionality as well, right?
Right. Yep.
Because there are times when we feel sometimes out of sorts, and
Hmm.
the question is, can you still be authentic to what you're feeling, but still put across who it is you're intentionally wanting to be? And
Right.
so, um, it takes work.
It does. It does.
It
It
takes
takes.
work. And I
Yeah.
love that you brought this habit up as something for people to think about
Hmm.
in their lives and their business. I think about it mostly as it relates to leadership, but it
Sure.
really applies across the board.
Hmm. Yeah. Every area of your life. So everything communicates, right?
That's
Everything you say, everything you do, and everything you wear sends a message, and it's either strengthening that brand of you or it's diminishing that brand of you. So
that
it's
makes a lot of
you
sense.
you just have to, you just understand that, and you just have to own it.
I love that.
Right.
Own the experience others have with you. So I
Right.
love that. So
Right.
let's talk a little bit about your unhabit, which
Sure.
is the inability to recognize the power of self-talk. How did you learn this lesson in your life?
So I started talking about that a little bit earlier, but it really came down to, growing up, I've always had some weight challenges. That's been with me my whole life. And I used to hate that about myself, and I used to beat myself up about that. But really, I've learned to embrace that. I've learned to embrace my curves, no matter what size I am, and just really owning it. Now, I will tell you that every day, sometimes it's still like, still a little tough to swallow. But it it became, I talked about growing up and putting those photos on my
Right.
my bedroom wall, and that really made an impression of what I thought the perfect woman should look like. So I had, like several of us growing up, you have this vision of what society thinks that perfect woman should be. Now it's much better than it used to be, but um, and so I would feel frustrated when I would go out and shop for clothing. I graduated in 1985, so I grew up in the late 70s and 80s, and I was always a little bit chubbier than my friends. And I think just comparing yourself, that
Mhm.
self-comparison really starts lowering your self-esteem, and then
Right.
you start doing the self-talk. And so a breaking point for me was I was a size 22, a size 2X in the early 90s. And I remember standing in a plus size clothing store, uh, and my eyes started welling up with tears. And I remember looking around at all these clothes, and I thought, and they were just not not what they are today. There's so many more options. So thankfully, designers are getting that. But I remember just feeling defeated and so upset that the clothing styles that were available for a plus size woman weren't as cute or as nice
Right.
as, like, what gave them the right to decide like what type of clothes we should wear, and they should be matronly or old fashioned looking or whatever. They weren't as cute or stylish. So I remember just being frustrated. I remember having tears in my eyes about that. And I thought, you know what? I am done. I am going to learn how to dress my body, no matter what size it is, and figure that out, because I'm very artistic, very creative by nature, always have been. Growing up, I loved doing art projects. And so I really became my own art project. And
I love that.
and I started just like, being creative and putting outfits together and trying to figure out what worked on my body and what didn't, but not so much externally as it was internally.
Right.
Like I paid attention to, and like this is before the internet a lot, but I paid attention to how I felt in the clothing I put on. So if I put something on and I was like, not really loving it, or it didn't make me feel like, or you look in the mirror and like, whoa, right. Who are you? I want to get to know you, and you are looking sassy today, right? So,
isn't that the best?
So I'm like, why can't every piece of, like your closet should be filled with those type of clothes anyway, because it really does. It gives you that feeling of confidence. And so, I say you have to learn to love yourself first,
right,
before you can go out and love others and bring your best self forward. So I did have a mentor once tell me that, like, to guard your gates. So guard what your eyes take in, what your ears hear, and the words you speak. And, the words you speak, especially those silent ones to yourself, have power, and that's really crucial to our self-confidence. So again, we've talked about like not comparing yourself to other people and what their perfect life is, because I'm sure they look at you and say, gosh, I wish I had
absolutely
her amazing lips, or her, I wish I had the ability that she has just to talk to anybody. And there's always something that somebody else wishes they have. And you could talk to any celebrity or politician or whatever. Everybody has those insecurities. We all have them, but it's just learning to understand that you can overcome that and just focus more on what are your strengths.
Absolutely.
It's not, don't spend the time. Okay, so I am not good at, for example, I hate math. I am married to a CPA, I'm like, God bless you for loving math, because not my thing. So it's, just figuring out, like, I'm not going to try and make myself learn math. Why would I spend all my energy trying to fix and, anything that's I'm not good at? Why don't you just take your energy with what you're really good at and just elevate that and blow it up and, make it, turn yourself on, is what I always say. Turn yourself on so you can turn others on to who you are.
That's you make such a good point. And comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes,
and
it is.
Everybody has something or several somethings that they have, the gifts and talents that they have that other people don't have. And so to look around and say, oh, I wish I had that. If it's something you could develop, you develop it. If it's something that's not developable, then just focus on what you do have, right?
Yeah.
And so that's such wise, such wisdom is
right. And I happen to be a Christian, and so for me, it kind of came down to as well, when I was having this negative self-talk and like, why don't I have this? And why don't I have that? And why is my body this way? And gosh, why can't I be like that person? And I kind of thought, my maker, whoever your maker is and whatever you believe, like for me, it was God. So God made me this way and thought this was perfect for me. So who am I to say that? Nah, you screwed up.
You got it wrong, right?
Right. So
absolutely.
I think so. I mean, that really freed me into being like, he thought this was perfect. He thought the world needed one of you just like this.
I had that same conversation, and it's interesting you say that, because my personal email address is perfectly Whitney, whatever the ending is. And I've had someone say, well, do you think you're perfect? It's like, no, I don't think I'm perfect, but I'm perfectly Whitney. I'm perfectly who I am, just the way I am. And I can't be you or somebody else. And that applies for each of us, right? You're perfectly Sheila. I'm perfectly Whitney. And when we can learn to embrace that and the gifts and talents that we have, we can stop with the negative self-talk and use the what you say, the power of self-talk with the positive, the affirming, the empowering words that lift us up. So.
Right. Yeah, I love that, perfectly Whitney. That's brilliant.
I try.
You're doing well.
I try. Do you have any parting words that you'd like to share with our audience?
Just again, talking about turning yourself on, because if you're not turned on with who you are, you're likely not turning others onto you. So make sure that you are being who you truly are, figuring out what your one word is that you want to be known for, and start building that out. Like, what does that look like your appearance wise? What does that look like when you're interacting with people? What does that look like online and all of that? And start being intentional about it and start showing up consistently. So just go out and light yourself up, because the world needs you.
I love that. Light yourself up so you can light other people up.
That's right.
I'm going to hashtag that. When I post this.
Great.
Yourself. I better write
yourself up.
I better write that down or I won't remember. So thank you, Sheila, for taking the time out and joining us, talking about your habit and your unhabit of owning the experience of being with you and watching your self-talk. And if you don't have your copy of the One Habit for Success, the SmartFem Summit Special Edition, please get your copy.
Yeah.
Look at, she has a hard copy. I'm so excited. I'm still waiting.
Good. It's so good.
I'm still waiting.
I'm learning so much.
Version. I have the Kindle, but I'm waiting for a hard copy. So get your copy. Read. Just open it up. Pick a habit, any habit. Read it. If it speaks to you, start working on it. Include it in your life. When you have that one down, go to the next one. The link is in the post, and look forward to seeing you next time. Again, Sheila, thank you very much for joining me.
Yeah, an absolute delight. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.